Hey.
I'm so sorry. I just came from work
No
and
worries.
I had to set up.
Yeah, no problem at all. I was just chilling. I was just on a little social media, How are you? Are you good? Did you have a good day?
I'm doing good. Let me see if I can get some light in here. There we go. Now you can see.
Okay, I can see you. Lighting is always so weird in my room. I guess one of our little bulbs is burnt out. Maybe that would help. Okay, I'm gonna be really honest. All I know is that Rena said we'd be a good match. That's it. So I just haven't had time. So would you mind telling me about yourself?
So I go by LD Marie online. So I have a podcast called Let Them See Your Mind. And I talk about like my journey as being American expat over here. I moved over to the United Kingdom in 2021. And I said there's need to be more people that do this. And I have a lot to say. So I started the podcast in November 2021. And the premise of it is just talking about letting them in on what my mind is thinking about. And so I talk about just 5 things about around my show is about me being American expat, traveling, being a social worker here in the United Kingdom, and then a little bit of pop culture and politics. And so we have a good time over there. And I've had
That's so
different,
cool.
yeah,
Oh
I've
my
had
God.
I have a different guest on and did vlogs and everything else in between and I just had a good time with it. And so
I
I'm
love
hoping
that.
that this year is the year that I start being a little bit more consistent about it and getting to the point where I can expand my audience and let people into this world that I call home, just for the time being, because who knows, in the next 2-3 years I may go somewhere else. So and
Yeah,
I just love talking about it, people things.
I love that. Well, I have a quick question just because I'm a social worker here in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
How did that work? Like, is it hard to be a social worker there? Like, credentialing wise, like, was that a hard process?
No, it actually wasn't. The hard process was trying to figure out how to get credentialed over here, to be fair. So I started just searching. I was like, I had the idea like, oh, well, I want to be a social worker. So how I go about it? I started applying for jobs, and then somebody told me, oh, well, you need to get registered. I was like, okay, well, let me get registered in the places I want to go. And so England was one of the places, and they have their whole registration system, and it's completely different than you're in Oklahoma. I'm from Texas, so it's completely different from over there. Like in the state of Texas, you can't consider yourself a social worker until you're licensed.
Right.
Over here, once you graduated with like a certification in social work, you are a social worker. Like you're diving in, you're working, like you've done your like ASYE, basically like a what we would call like an apprenticeship or
Practicum.
practicum and everything else. And so so how I found out is like I found out through this country, it's Social Work of England. And so what I had to do was prove that my credentials were just as equivalent to their credentials and what they've gone through as far as classes, work ethic, what jobs I've been considered, everything else, and just sent that all over to Social Work of England. I had to pay a little bit more because, of course, I'm out of the country. And then they approved everything, and which that was a journey in itself, which I talk about in one of my episodes of how I actually got registered. But other than that, yeah, it's fairly simple, but you need to be on top of stuff in order to make sure that you're registered here.
Okay, so yeah, that would be a little different just because I've gotten real lucky with our state licensing board because like like for instance, CEUs, I'll be waiting to the last minute every year. I'm talking the middle of December. I'm still like, I still need 3 live hours. What am I gonna do? And then I paid for one and forgot to show up to it. And I was like, it's December. How am I gonna get another one? And I did. I made it work. I was stressed. And if they weren't just sitting there waiting for me to submit
when they count as CEUs, we have to do like a whole like not necessarily practicum, but just like a review. And so we it was used to, you only have to do one. It was a peer review and you only have to do one. And then now they upgraded it to two. And so like one, it's like going to a training or a supervision or whatever, and you just type up what you talked about. And then there is the other one is a peer review. And so you have to talk about what you kind of talk about. So like even today here, me talking to you on the podcast about social work in the UK, I can use that as what they call it. I don't remember on the top of my head at this stage, but I can use it one of those, and that can be my 2 for the year.
That's
and
so cool.
that has to be doing that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. What are you doing for work there? I mean, I know you're a social worker, but what do you do?
Yeah. So I am what is called a MASH social worker. So that MASH stands for multi-agency safeguarding and assessment. So my role is that when the first referral comes into the service for children's services, I'm the initial contact point. I'm like the front door. So before you get into the system, I'm the first person that you talk to in relation to like an actual social worker. And I triage cases. So I would like get information, gather information, talk to other agencies, do MASH assessments, and kind of gather information to kind of determine if the social worker needs to come out or if we need to triage this over to like first steps or early help, early years, that type of thing, or just revert back to the community or just shut it down altogether. And so that's my role. And I've been doing that for, I would say it'll be 2 years in November. It'll be 2 years in November.
That's
Previously before I joined that role, I was a social worker in child protection. So I was in a team called CAST, which I don't remember the acronym for CAST right now, but it's basically the combination of investigation, long-term intervention, assessment, and anything else that you want to throw to a social worker. Basically, you're that main person. Mm-hmm. So I was once it came from the MASH team, I was the person that went out and did investigations. After the investigations and conducting assessment, I was also the social worker that did a long-term intervention. So like if we want to put a child on a plan to reduce risk or safeguarding concerns, then it would be like either one or two plans. It would be like what we would call a child in need plan or a child protection plan. And so I would be that social worker doing that intervention engagement during that time. And that would be long intervention work. And if that case needed to go to court, I would still be that social worker to take that case to court. I would be writing court reports. I would present evidence. If a child is removed from their parents' care, I would be the social worker to be transitioning them to their social, not the social worker, but their foster care, or they're very big over here on using family and friends. If mom can't do it, dad can't do it, let's ask grandma, let's ask friends, let's ask this. So like someone that's familiar with the child before to emergency foster care. And so I would be the one to kind of take the child and go to there, and I would handle their case from there. In relation to that, I would be handling children that are in care. If they turned into care, I would handle that case until it was transitioned over to the children in care team. So I was like an all-in-one type of social worker.
Yeah.
And I did that for 2 years and burnt out completely.
Oh, I bet.
Completely burnt out. And then within that 2-year time, I had 3 managers. And what really got me over the edge was my last manager. We didn't get on, and it was tough. It was the first time where I had to sit back and be like, I can't do this anymore. I had 40 cases. I had a manager on my back, and I felt like this manager was really just intentionally throwing me under the bus, and not just myself, but just other team, questioning my decisions. It made me question if I was really a social worker. Like I had to work, even transitioning into my new role at the time. I had to work on my confidence during that time, and I would have to. There were triggers even with my new management team that if something were to happen, it would bring me back to that place.
Right.
And yeah, I was off sick for 6 weeks during that time. And then when I came back to my last job, it was the first week back and it was already hell. And I was like, I can't do it.
Exactly. Having that time off kind of makes you aware of how.
Yeah, and I submitted my 2-month notice, because you have to do a 2-month notice. But in all honesty, before I submitted my 2-month notice at that time, I submitted my 2-month notice like 2 months ago because there was an issue. Because I do social media, and so there are things that I do on social media, not in relation to my profession, because I talk about a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
But it wasn't. So one of the videos that I posted wasn't like quote unquote appropriate or professional, and so it got back to my job, and they basically told me that I needed to privatize my account or be mindful of what I post. And I was like, well, what do you mean being mindful of what I post? Because of course we have the autonomy as we have our personal lives.
Yeah.
So like,
and if you weren't advertising your employer, then it doesn't matter.
Right. And so it was just like, it was transitioned over to my employer. They talked me down, and I was like, you know what? If you're going to tell me that I have to privatize my account, I quit. And I sent a letter, and they were like, the senior management was like, what did you tell her? And she's freaking out. And so eventually I took it back, but then I started getting a whole bunch of like shit. And then that's when I went on leave for 6 weeks, because I think after a little bit, it just became so overwhelming. And I think there was 2 days I did an overwhelming thing where I was off for 2 days and I came back. Then I was working for a few times, and then I just went off for 6 weeks. And then that first week I went back, I was just still getting the same shit from my manager. And I was like, you know what? I quit. And that was a 2-month notice. I didn't have a job. Being in the United Kingdom, if you're being in the United Kingdom and you're on a visa, once you quit your job, 2 months after you quit your job, you got to leave the country.
Yeah.
So it was like, I had to go on overdrive. I had to basically like sit here like, okay, so it's either I'm going back home or I got to get on my grind and find a job.
Oh, that seems so stressful, man.
I mean, at the time before I went back to work, I was already planning my escape, because at that time it was my 30th birthday. I went to, I was about to say Costa Rica. I always say this. Croatia. There we is, Croatia. So I went to Croatia, and it was just so peaceful. I went with my London bestie, and we were just in the water. She knew that things were rough at work, and I sat there right then and there, turning 30. I was like, I can't deal with this shit no more. And so the tranquility of where I was there, it was beautiful. Like, I had a great time. We were both celebrating our birthdays. And eventually I was like, yeah, I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to call in sick. And I'm going to get a letter. And I'm just going to, during that time of me getting my letter, I'm going to try to find a new job. And that's when I got in contact with a recruiter to help me search for a job. Because in the beginning, my first job search, I didn't use a recruiter. I used networking. This time around, I used a recruiter to help me. And so they knew what was up. And then when I got back to work after the 6-week break, because I went on vacation. And then the first day I was supposed to go back to work, I've submitted a doctor's note saying I'm gonna be off for 2 weeks. And then I submitted another doctor's note to be off for another 4 weeks. And that was always very suspicious, because of course you went on vacation, and then now you're saying you're sick.
Well, I picked up a tropical disease, so you don't know shit about it.
So I just I kind of did that, and then came back to work. And then the first day I'm getting shit from my manager, and all of my team is noticing it. Like literally in the middle of the team, you're not necessarily barking orders at me, because I mean, obviously now I blocked most of it. And so like, I know like it was a particular meeting where like I was doing something, and she just looked at me, and I don't remember what she said, but it was very disrespectful and rude. And everybody was just looking like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that next Monday, I was like, you know what? Here's my notice.
Good for you. Good for you. Because here's the deal. People think that, well, I'm thinking a couple of things, but people think that just because they're in a profession that is of service to others, and an important service at that they then have to burn themselves to the ground to do that work. Bullshit, dude. No, I can use my gifts outside of here and not be treated like a piece of shit. And that's where I had to get to. But also, I love that you are sharing this experience, because you could have taken that and been like, but I'm fucking stuck. I mean, I gotta have another job or else I'll get kicked out this country, you know, whatever. But you were like, no, I'll figure it out. I'm gonna stand up for myself. I'm gonna put myself first, and that's what's gonna ultimately give me results. And it did, because if you hadn't been willing to take a chance on yourself, you wouldn't be here right now. You would have ended up just giving up and going home anyway, because you felt so stuck in this job that you limit your potential to either this or that, home, or I have to stay stuck in this job because I can't find another one. And I mean, that happens in America too. Like, you know, we all find ourselves. I stayed in a job that was making me suicidal. For what? Like, because I was scared to not have money? Like, you know, like I love when people are real about their shit, because you can be fake all day and you'll get some people by being fake. You will. I mean, there's a fake people everywhere. That's fine. But man, if you're wanting to make an impact in the world, show people the fucking truth about being messy, because we are messy and life is messy and our experiences are messy, and it doesn't always feel comfortable to stand up for yourself, you know, like if you're a social worker, I already know you got a history. Like, nobody goes into social work because they had a perfect life.
No.
So, you know, like, I am so just like proud of you and happy for you that you stood in your own authority, because I'm so fucking tired of these workplaces led primarily by women, and the way women were socialized to communicate is through talking shit and complaining. So you get in a managerial position with somebody who's got some real unhealed shit they're dealing with, they're going to treat you like you're the piece of shit. And I'm not here for it anymore, man. No one, I can't work for other people now because I have no respect for authority. Zero.
No, I hear
Zero.
Yeah, I definitely hear you. I've had like over here, I've had some pretty good bosses. It was just that particular one that it was just like, and like you know when you're going through something and you look at your neighbor and be like, is this for real? Like,
yeah, is that
am I making this up? Like
hallucinating?
Like
it can't actually be happening, right?
Is she really talking shit? Because there was just just fly shit going around. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I wasn't a part of.
Sure. Of course you were. That's how all experiences go. You've got some accountability there, but what you're doing in the moment is what matters. How you're addressing people is what matters. Like, I don't give a fuck if I messed up or not. You're not gonna come scream at me. Like, no. I mess up big, but you ain't gonna talk to me like that.
Nah, it was just certain things where it's like I know looking back on the situation, like even my London bestie, who she's a very big in corporate world. She's like a CFO in her corporate world, and she was telling me, she's like, look, like I see where this is going, and if you hadn't have called in sick, you would have been put on a performance plan. And I'm like, you're exactly right. And I felt like that. And then she basically like, if you're put on a performance plan, you might as well put in your resignation right then and there, because it really, when it comes to performance plans, it's very much like you don't, it's not something that you can't just like get out of completely. Like, it will always be on your record. Always be something that, oh, well, you struggled with this. Like, I even had a performance plan in grad school, which I felt like it was very like thrown up on me in grad school when that happened. That's another story for a different day. But even just like when you get into those spots, it just feels like you have to bend in order to make sure that you keep your job. And a lot of the things where you're just very much under a microscope, and it is not a good feeling. And with that being said, to go from a social worker that was on the track to be an assistant team manager to once this manager comes in, everything is plummeting and falling, and I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing that wrong. You're telling me that I'm not doing this right and that right, or you're literally berating all of us in front of each other about, well, you haven't gotten this done, you haven't gotten this. That's not productive, and that's not something that you want to grow in your environment in teaching people. And so for me, once I got out of that environment, into the management team that I have now, which I'm very grateful for, I had to work through my trauma, and I had to work through like my confidence level, because I knew at the time I felt like I may be not the social worker that people are telling me or whatever.
Right.
And so I had to work through, and very dependent on my managers and on my team, the new team, because first of all, I'm going into a new role that I really like, I've only heard about. I haven't necessarily like been in the trenches. And so I'm dependent on my new coworkers, I'm dependent on my manager, and they're looking at me like, I mean, we know you can do this. And there was just different learning curves within the first 6 months of my new role. And then unfortunately my grandmother passed. And I went home for 3 weeks, came back, and my manager say this. She said, just something clicked. I don't know if you were just rest and be still for that time or whatever the case may be. Just something, they just said something clicked, and you're doing what you need to do that we always knew what you need to do.
You stop second guessing every decision you're making. Yeah.
I mean, I made like some dire mistakes in my first 6 months. I'm not gonna lie, and some things is just like, man, I should have known better. But and then after that, it was just like, okay, well, yeah, you getting them out, you're doing what you need to do. And so now, when I'm placed in an environment that I know my manager's got my back, I know for a fact that they will ride for anybody on that team, and they're working just as hard as we are, and they're willing to put in the trenches. Whereas my last manager would look at you crazy and then tell you, give you an assignment by 3 that you need to have it by the end of the day when you already have X, Y, and Z over there. Like, come on now.
Yeah. Well, that
type of thing.
Do you know how many women I've worked with as managers that do this thing that really pisses me off? When they lie to themselves and say, I don't want to make that employee feel uncomfortable, when really they don't want to feel uncomfortable with the confrontation. So they don't confront a situation head on, and they'll send a staff-wide email, and they will say, guys, make sure you're doing such and such and such and such. And they really only want to say that to one person. That person usually isn't even the one checking the fucking email, let's be real. And everyone else is sitting around like, why are you bringing this negativity to the entire staff when you could have just addressed this with one person? Or pitting your staff against each other by posting, thank you to so-and-so and so-and-so. They're the only ones that did what I asked them to do. And I'm like, well, fuck so-and-so and so-and-so, because they don't have boundaries and I don't give a shit. Like, working in predominantly women-dominated fields has been a real struggle in that area, because, and I love women, like I don't want to be a part of that problem, but unhealed women are dangerous in manager positions or any sort of administrative position, because their little fucking narcissistic tendencies come out really quickly, and they will squash you like a bug if you let them. And it will make you second guess everything you've ever known to be true about yourself, professionally and personally. And it does bleed into how you view yourself. And God, it made me like, I really just questioned my worth and value as a human related to a job. Like, ultimately, no matter how much you love your job or how much your job means to you, maybe you feel like it's your purpose on this earth, it doesn't matter how much of any of that is true if you aren't feeling like you're worthy and valuable as a human, because you're making normal human ass mistakes in your job. Like, we're gonna make mistakes, and sometimes that mistake is oversleeping, or sometimes it is you forgot to make an appointment, like you didn't show up somewhere you were supposed to be because you forgot to write it down, and you know better because you know if you don't write shit down, you're not going to remember, but you still made the mistake. And I just feel like this is really my message to people when they're wanting to create a better workplace culture. It's like, you got to heal yourself, man. You can't be good to lead anyone, because you can only meet people at your level of understanding. And if you don't understand yourself, then you're taking all of your employees' behavior personally. Like that, I was a hospice social worker full time, and then I switched into education primarily as a school counselor. And because of hospice, I had really good boundaries between my work and personal life. Like, because I had spent so many fucking years on call on the weekends that I was like, hell no, if I wasn't on call, like my hospice job, we had a work phone and a personal phone. That work phone was turned off. I don't even think about calling my personal phone. I'm fucking done. Like, if I'm not on call and shit, sometimes I didn't even have my work phone when I was on call because I'd forget, like whatever. But I get to education. Oh, none of these people have boundaries. They're all trying to get teacher of the year, and the only way to win teacher of the year is working real late, coming in early, doing shit that you're not getting paid for. I'm sorry. I'm already getting paid absolute jack shit. You ain't getting a dime from me for free. I'm not giving you 1 minute for free ever. And like, I feel bad because students can't have opportunities to do sports and things if somebody doesn't volunteer to do them. Guess what? It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be me. It does not. And why aren't you volunteering then? If this was so important that you're going to try to make me feel like shit, why are you not volunteering? And it was just nonstop nagging at me. And I switched jobs a lot when I was in education because I was like, wait, this fucking sucks, because I just kept running into personality conflicts, which was new for me. That doesn't happen to me. I can get along with pretty much anyone. I mean, we'll just stay the fuck away from each other if we really don't like each other. That's fine. But I'm like running into these clashes, but of course it's never like, an actual confrontation. It's shit talk and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, ooh, I'm not going to engage in that. But then after a while, you can't help but like just become resentful of everyone around you, because you're like, you're talking shit because I won't work for free. Literally, go heal so that you don't expect that from others, because you shouldn't expect it from yourself either. So we got to like stand up in our authority as women to be like, I don't take shit. Yep. And also, I'm going to heal the areas that I need to heal so that I'm not bringing unhealthy, toxic behavior patterns to any workplace. And I hope that eventually I do get more opportunities to lead trainings in this area, because listen, women dominated fields, they're fucking rough. If your boss doesn't like you, you're fucked.
Yeah, I think I want to kind of point on something earlier, which of what you were saying, in taking that leap of faith, and understanding that taking that leap of faith is very scary. Even though I did it, like I think there was a lot of talking of me taking that leap, because of course I took a leap of faith by moving over to the United Kingdom on my own. Nobody, no friends, no family, anything like that. I came over here by myself. I was blessed enough to make networks and friends prior to moving over here, and having those friendships to this day. And when you're in a job that you feel like that you're quote unquote dependent on because you have bills, you have everything that you need to do, and you're sitting there and you are miserable in your job. You are absolutely miserable, and nothing about your job says yes. Because even before I had that manager, I didn't really truly like my job. I did it because it was my foot in the door, one, and then two, I had good people and I had good support, and it felt like, okay, we can look out for each other and everything else, and it was a good vibe. Like that was there until when you bring one person in and it just fucks up the whole system. It really makes you think. I was like, can I sit this out for another year? Because I had a 3-year visa with this job. And mind you, and I think I just want to touch on this a little bit, that when you come over here on a visa, you have your 3 years. And if you're wanting to change jobs or change any type of way about your job, you need to find a job that will sponsor you again. Then the money to pay for that visa. And there was a lot of stipulations in order to kind of up and switch and move. So there was a lot of considerations. And I think there's a lot of people that do those considerations when they're in a job and they're like, I'm not going to do it because I'm scared I won't be able to.
Right.
And so when I did it, when I said, fuck it, I was like, I can't do this. I was mad at myself. I didn't keep to my 2 month notice 2 months prior.
Yeah, you're like, damn it, I should have left
right,
in.
I should have just left it 2 months, or that 2 months when I was well, I wouldn't say in my feelings, but when I was in my feelings about the whole social media thing, because for me, social media, I want to transition into social media,
right,
and be a creator and be a podcaster. Like that's my plan out for social work. And you're telling me that I need to privatize my shit because it doesn't reflect the company? Nah. That's not what it is. That's not how we're gonna work this out. And
tell whoever was watching my shit and reporting it back to you that I said that.
Well, I mean, I've had several conversations on there. There's 3 little dots on my profile. You can easily unfollow me. You don't have to consume my shit.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, I'm a social worker and then I'm LD. After 5 o'clock hits, or after whenever I close the computer, I am no longer Miss LaDonna. I am no longer my government name at work. I am LD. I am my own person. I have my own things. I have my own views, and I will stand on business with my stuff. If somebody want to pull in my private life in a courtroom and be like, well, yeah, that's me. But that has nothing to do with what I'm saying and what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, of course that does, because matter of public opinion and the cancel culture that we have, of course that matters. Like I can still, like, people don't understand that you can still have professional views that clash with your personal values.
Right.
Like, that's a struggle that every worker has, where I may be talking about one thing and knowing for a fact, personally, I really don't believe it.
Right.
Truth when it comes to to being a social worker, but there are some things that we look at and it's just like, I mean, I see the research, I know the research, but for me, it doesn't work, or it doesn't click. And it's not just because we're just not educated. It's not that we're being ignorant about it. It's just we have a different view of what it is, and everybody's right to have an opinion about what the professional standards are and what the views are. Like any worker comes about. And so when my personal beefs or grievances come to the public, that's why people go to shame and be like, well, how can this person be this person, and try to teach children or do other things and everything else, because, well, they're saying one thing here, or they're representing one thing here, but they're representing something else. Like, I think people need to understand that people are multifaceted, and they can be, we're all chameleons. I can be social worker, LD, and then I could like to turn up and go to dance classes and do sensual dances and live free and love my body and do what I need to do. And also be an inspiration to other women because of my journey. Now, if my journey doesn't match with the professional values that I speak about each and every day, then yeah, I can clearly understand that as a social worker and having my conscious bias. But at the end of the day, I'm not a social worker in that moment.
Right.
I'm a regular old person. And I think people need to humanize people when it comes to that. There really needs to be an understanding of that. And kind of understanding that when you're saying work and home can intertwine with each other, to where you can get stuck in a job and you feel like that you can't move, and then you're sad and depressed about this job, and you're literally, for me personally, when I first moved over here, I was drinking a bottle of wine every day because I was by myself.
Yeah, you were nervous, and
the traumas of being in a child protection field that I've never been in before. I wasn't in child protection back in Texas. I was working with children with disabilities, children with mental health, children that experience, and parents that that have been exposed to sexual assault and sexual violence and sexual abuse. That's my background. And I did hospital social work. When I come over here, this is the first time I'm doing CPS work, essentially.
Yeah, and most of us don't get into social work to go do the CPS work. Yeah. Even though anytime you say social worker, that's what people associate with it. I knew damn well that wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, I was like, that shit's hard. That shit's hard.
I knew I applied at one point, and then I was like, nah, this ain't for me. And then I started doing other areas of social work. But this is my first time coming in. But in essence, like, bleeding into home and professionalism is always intertwined, but there also needs to be that understanding of boundaries.
Yeah.
That understanding of there. And that's when people kind of, with my manager, she was intertwining my home life with my professional life, because people are saying, oh, well, LD is doing this, LD is doing that. And I don't understand, and I'm getting upset, because she will come to me saying like, oh, well, somebody on the team, well, not somebody on the team. Well, it's been brought to my attention that
I got a op. Okay.
It's been brought to my attention that you were on social media drinking and partying while you were on leave. I'm like, and I mean, I was on mental health leave. If I'm smoking and drinking on my social media, first of all, you don't even know if it was that day. Like, let's get that clear. You don't even know if that was if that was that first day. Mind you, I went on leave around about the same time as my birthday. So I went out of the country for my birthday. So those could have been events and things that didn't happen on the same day and the same time. So y'all just looking at my social media trying to figure me out. I mean, that's basically kind of how that works out. So it's very important. I would say that it's very important to kind of realize that people have lives outside of their work, and their people are not work. And I've known people that are work. It's like they'll tell me all the time, "You're a social worker," and I'm like, "And
right, what does that mean?
What does that mean? That's my job. That's not my whole life.
Yeah, that's not my identity. That's just what I do for work.
That part. It is crazy. It's so crazy. But even so, it's just like, I just wanted to, that going back to just the original statement, it was just, it's very important to understand that all those things matter, and all those feelings matter, and going through that cycle of, okay, I don't think I can do it, but I'm going to do it because I'm in this rut, and I don't know any way out. And you take that leap of faith. And once you take that leap of faith, you may think you're free falling, but you exactly know where you're going to be, because I don't know if you're religious, but I know my God has a purpose, and my God knew that it wasn't time for me to go back home just yet. And right. So, and at the end of the day, I was able to get a job within, I think I was able to get 4 job offers.
Wow.
Within a month. And my manager, she thought I was playing for like a good month. And I kept telling her, I was like, oh, I got this interview there, whatever. And I would tell her loosely because she would directly ask me about it. But in the beginning, she was like, okay, well, we're going to start from day one, like kind of putting on the premise of a performance plan, but not necessarily a performance plan. Mm-hmm. And so she was just like, oh, well, we're going to meet weekly. We're going to discuss. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then after a month, she actually blatantly asked me, she was like, are you going to leave? And she was like, what is your plan if you're going to leave? I was like, I know I am leaving. October 20th is my last day.
Uh-huh.
If I have a job, if I don't have a job, that's
I wasn't playing. I don't want to be here.
I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. And there were times where I would take off work because I did find a job and I didn't tell her that I accepted a job. And I had to write down on my new place because, of course, it wasn't in the same place. Write down my new place and let them know that I'm at this job until this certain time. And then I have another job lined up. She called me on my day off and she was like, I received this email saying that you're moving in this place. But your last day is October 20th. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, oh, well, I just have to tell them that you're not going to be working here anymore. I was like, okay, that's fine. I told them already. I just need them to let them know that I'm working now. And then I have another job lined up. And she was like, oh, okay. I was like, bye. Like, yeah. You want my time. Like, it's none of your concern. Just tell them what it is because it just seems like you trying to just be in my business or trying to on somebody. Nah. Do what you need to do. I knew what I was doing when I signed the paper and told them to call you.
Yeah. Well, I think anytime we're betting on ourselves, it's a safe bet because I know when I was sitting there so scared to leave, I had to get to a point where the pain of staying there was greater than the pain of change. And I was like, can't be worse than this. Cannot get any worse than this. So I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm going to go. And I'm glad I did. I mean, my life looks exactly how I could have always dreamed of it. Look, like I'm happy. I'm at peace. I'm doing what I love. And I don't have to answer to people who don't know how to talk to me. Like I'm a grown ass adult. I mean, that last job, it got to where I was like, me? You're talking to me? Like, no, you're not. I mean, I was sassy as hell because I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done. And I didn't let people talk to me crazy anymore, but
I was acting a pure fool. I, you know, of course you got to do out of offices. And so, I used to do out of offices and basically be like, I am out of the office today. Your message, your email, telegram, telephone number, message in the bottle, smoke screen, smoke signal will not be received at this time. Contact somebody else. And then there was one that I did where, dear all, I ran away from the States. Please contact the service director. Please contact the service director for any information. And then there was another one. There was another one that said like, I have gone to the sunken place. My manager is coming to get me. My manager will come get me if it's an emergency.
God, I love it. But you know, when you're standing on business, sometimes you just got to get crazy.
No, the last one that really got me in trouble was I said, once upon a time, there was an overworked social worker. that decided to run away and never come back. Please,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
Please email. It went out It went out to a couple of people, and the service manager shut it down.
She said, "Now listen." Just say you're out of office, okay? We do not need
this. They were basically like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. After that one, they were like, you can't do that no more. You can't, because that was me being very rebellious. I was like, y'all, I'm sick of y'all. Like, And the thing about it is, everybody thought it was hilarious.
Oh, I bet. I mean, I would die.
Out of office, they were like, "Bruh, check what she."
I would die. I would love that shit. I'd be like, yes, you're my people. That's what you are. That is awesome.
When I was leaving, I was communicating a lot with like the placement team, and there was this one guy. I was like, yeah, I'm leaving on Friday. He was like, what? What do you mean you're leaving? Why are you leaving me?
I love it.
I worked with him for like 2 days straight on one case because this 15-year-old kid was the ever bane of my bright ass cheek. Like, it was crazy. And we're trying to find him a placement. And teenagers, and so like he was like, yeah, so you're leaving? I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm sorry to tell you. He was like, man, I mean, I actually like you.
Yeah. Now I got to go back to these boring people.
Right. And that's how normally it is when I'm working with other colleagues. They're like, man, you really cool. Because I would treat them like, I would get information. I would call up to the police and be like, hey, what's going on? And if it be somebody that I worked with previously, it's like, hey, so-and-so, how you doing? It's like, good. I was like, oh, okay. You remember to bring me my Coke? I mean, you supposed to bring me the Coke at the meeting. Come on now. You supposed to bring me the Coke. He never gave me the Coke. But yeah, I'll just be playing around and I was like, hey, I got this case and I'm wondering if my kid got arrested or I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Can you look it up for me? And they'd be like, oh, no, not a problem. And so I would make relationships like that.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait on the regular line to try to figure out what's going on. I'll call directly and be like, hey, what's good?
Yeah.
This case so can you look? I know it's not a joint case with us right now, but I'm just wondering if you can look it up for me real quickly. And they will do the same thing. They will call.
Yeah,
that's me, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Let me. Awesome.
I love building those relationships, man.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be awesome. I'm trying to build them relationships with my current role, but the police are not as cool. The police are not as cool as the ones I used to work with.
Hilarious. Well, is there anything that you want to make sure that the listeners hear, like, from you about this experience? Anything before we wrap up?
I would just want to say, just conversation in general. Just come over to my page. Just okay. Experience and enjoy just the different conversations and the different laughs that I experience. And I bring you along with my journey of being here in the United Kingdom. And we just talk about just other different things. We're not just talking about social work. We're not just talking about being an American expat. I'm giving y'all an overview of my travel adventures. I am just talking about like different pop cultures that ideas and topics that resonate with me. And I'm also talking about politics and trying to get y'all to understand why it's important as an American expat to pay attention. Even if you're internationally, you still need to pay attention to what's going on in the States, because you know, ever since Trump in office, everybody over in Europe is scared. They like, I don't know what's going to happen, and they're meeting and they're trying to figure it out, and they're going united against the United States because of the dumb shit that President Trump is doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So where can we find your page?
So my page is Let Them See Your Mind. I do my podcast on Apple Music. I do my podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and what's that other one? Amazon Music. There we go. Amazon.
Okay, right on. Well, if you like we're not following each other on social media, I don't think.
Not yet, but
we got to do that. That way, when I promote the episode, I can make you a collaborator. But also, like, I'll make sure I include your links in my show notes.
Yeah, most definitely. And then also, you can follow me on social media at Let Them See Your Mind. And if there's any interest of you coming on the show and we having a conversation, just most definitely come on.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, most definitely. And we could just talk about what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I love organic, natural conversations and letting shit just go where it goes, you know?
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so glad we made this connection. I had such a good time with you.
I had a great time with you. You got me up because, like, Literally,
I was thinking good, like at least it made it worth it to come home from a long day of work and have to record.
I didn't go to bed last night till 4 a.m.
Oh no.
Fumes. I was just like, I looked at the calendar, I was like, shit, I have this interview.
Yeah. Oh, I feel for you. I feel for you because a lack of sleep will make me cranky. It sure will.
Oh, I was cranky at work. I was like, y'all leave me alone. I can't.
I'm counting the hours. Let me go. Let me go.
Exactly. But now I'm about to do the last little bit, and then I'm about to curl up and watch Mad Men. That's my
Good
show.
for you. Good for you. All right. Well, let's stay connected.
Of course. All right.
All right.
Bye.